Anywho, sorry guys. Got a little emotional. But I have to say this. I have to get it off my chest. So I went from field trip mama, PTO mama. In 24 hours, I went from mom to no one. No one. And at that point, we had realized that because of my boyfriend at the time's failed drug test, he had a warrant out. He went and turned himself in. I was in a new town. I knew nobody except for one friend of me and Chaz's who lived kitty corner to me. One friend. So that first month was awful. I didn't leave the house. I didn't eat. I did nothing. I was ready to die. I really was. And looking back at that time period, it was very, very dark for me. I didn't want to go to visits. And that's only because the first few of Mary bringing my kids into my home, seeing them, their face light up, hugs, kisses, being able to snuggle them, hold them for a couple hours, feed them dinner, and do stuff like that like a normal. It was wonderful until they left. And I say this because I have a lot of mental illness. Okay, I've been diagnosed with PTSD, ADD, borderline personality disorder, and anxiety, depression. So let me explain. For borderlines, it's very hard for us to get attached to people, even our own children. And it took me years to even really feel that attachment with my kids. But once you have that attachment and it's gone, we can't cope. So my mind immediately guarded. I would rather not see my children than to see them, feel them, hold them, love them, and then watch them leave and say goodbye and not know if you're going to see them again, when you're going to see them again, if they're okay, if they're safe, if they're happy, taken care of, nothing. That was worse for me than not seeing them at all. And I really regret missing a lot of visits in that point in time. I do. It wasn't fair to them, but if you're a mom, you know. To have to say goodbye to your kids is the worst feeling ever. Yeah. So, anywho. And you know, the thing is about that is there's nobody in this world that would have made me feel guiltier than what I felt about myself during this period. Nothing. But man, did my DHS workers try. There was nothing I could do, right? Yeah, I told them I was falling apart. I told them my mental health was declining. I went and got a mental health check. They referred me to be on meds. I got on depression meds, anxiety meds, mood stabilizers, ADD medication, depression pills. I'm on 3 different antidepressants because of DHS's recommendations. So I got on the pills. I did my therapy. I did my substance abuse evaluation, my mental health stuff. And I went to my substance evaluation, talked to a woman there, went through some tests. And at the end of it all, she said, I cannot honestly give you a recommendation for services because she did not think I had a substance abuse problem, but she thinks I have a mental health problem, which absolutely. And I told her, I said, I have never wanted to use drugs more than after these kids were taken. I never felt the need to numb myself. Never felt as low as I've been. So, therapy. I came to DHS with this. I told them all the good news, told them all the things I was doing. I had one job, a car, an apartment by myself at that point. And even though I had never had drugs before this point of time ever in my life. No history, no criminal charges, nothing. Their recommendation for me at that point in time was 60-day inpatient treatment at a substance abuse facility. And at this point, I was working, so I couldn't really miss 60 days of work and have a home. And I told them this, and yeah, anyway. Also during this time period, my ex-husband did a very cruel trick, I guess. And that was, he started being very nice to me. He started bringing the kids over extra to visit. He took me to the theater with him, to the park. We had a month of awesomeness. We went to nature centers. We got to climb, run. It was awesome. This is all I got to do with my kids. So after not seeing him for a couple months, every single day, it was heaven. It was pure heaven for me. And I didn't even mind he was trying to get back with me. I really didn't. Because I was with my kids. And that was worth it to me. And maybe part of me did think maybe he was going to change. He told me that whole time that I've changed, I'm a different person. And I honestly think a part of me believed him. And I don't know if it was because how happy I was when I was with them and him, or the fact that he made me feel safe at one point a long time ago. And I was at a low point again, and he was making me feel safe. I don't know. But I started to love him again. At this point in time, my friend at the time, Nick, and I were staying together because we had been friends, and his ex did not like me, evidently. So she had sent people up in my apartment, banging on doors, all hours of the night. I remember one night I sat on my stairs with a bat in my hand for hours, because there was people banging on my door, and I was so scared. This woman threatened to put bleach in my tank, threatened to burn my house down with my kids in it, would find out where my kids were, knew everything about them somehow, would use that against me, threatened to kill me, threatened to hurt me. I'm talking, this woman drove me through hell. Come to find out, Nick, her ex, was feeding her all this information, this, that, and the other thing. Point being, he was an asshole, she was a bitch. But between her and my jaded ex-husband who thought I was with Nick, I lost 2 jobs. My car was repossessed. I was evicted from my apartment. I began using drugs very, very often. Not to get high, but anything but this. I went down really, really low there. I tried to commit suicide twice this summer. One time, my friend Troy interrupted. And the other time, I just stopped myself, I guess. I stood at the bridge and just looked down for, it seemed like forever, but probably an hour. And I just thought, this would be so much easier than saying goodbye again. But after this, Casey, or my ex, thought I was with Nick. So he stopped talking to me. The visits with the kids stopped. It's right around the time that my oldest stopped coming to visits. He stopped coming to visits. At the same time, my ex and his family were trash talking me online. I lost all my friends. My family didn't speak to me. I was meth mom on Facebook. They were posting pictures of me all over. There was an old picture, I guess, of me and an old friend, and he had some pipe in the background even. He posted that and labeled it meth mom and showed my kids this picture. So due to this, and Lord knows what else he said to him, my oldest son refused to talk to me, refused to see me. And still, it is almost April of 2025, and I haven't seen, heard, or held my oldest son since last June of last year. I begged and pleaded for a video clip, anything, a picture, something, and nothing. I've been advised by DHS that he's doing well and to walk away, to leave him, let him be happy. She says, just walk away. Throughout this hard time, I was given no guidance, no assistance. I barely had food to eat. Nobody offered any programs or assistance through DHS. I was not given any empathy, compassion. This woman would come to visits and look at me like a bug. I wasn't even allowed to help my own daughter wipe herself in the bathroom. She couldn't let me out of her sight. My daughter and I had a joke when she would come over. She's like, Mom, I heard you're dangerous. And I'd look at her and I'd be like, yep, you wouldn't want to run into me in a dark alley, huh? And she'd look at me and look at Mary and then roll her eyes. And I'm like, it's okay. So those were the days I put on a happy face. And everything was fine, guys. Everything was going to be fine. Tell Bryson I love him. Everything's going to be fine. So there came a point in time where the interactions with me and my DHS worker at the time were so volatile or non-existent at all that I knew I would need to leave the area to get away from my harasser. Oh, by the way, these harassment and threats also caused me not to see my kids for weeks on end because it wasn't safe for them to come to my house because of her. She called DHS numerous times to report lies, trying to get my kids out, taken away longer. I don't know what her deal was, but needless to say, I finally turned her in for harassment charges. She's facing felony harassment charges, and I go to court with her next month. Not the point. I didn't do anything except for, I don't know, just drive me deeper and lower. But, so come October, actually it was September, I guess. September, Chaz gets out of jail. Mind you, since he got out of jail, by that time I had done a lot of things I wasn't proud of. Had to see Nick, the only other man that I ever had feelings for at that point in time, get arrested and drug off by cops. I had to see my best friend Troy get arrested and convinced him to come out of a house to go into arrestment. And he's been in jail for over 9 months now because he took some tools from it. I don't know. He was being naughty, which is fine, but I only had one friend. So, my adopted little daughter also got to go to jail that summer because of my harasser calling in a raid at her house, and she didn't wake up fast enough for the cops to come in. So I had no one at this point. Chaz gets out, and this man saved me. This man got me away from that town. This town had put me through hell. At this point in time, people knew all about me and being a meth mom. I got spit on as I walked into gas stations. I was threatened. I don't know, people spread rumors about me. I had no friends. I had nobody. I knew nobody, and everybody knew me in a very negative light. And I didn't realize how negatively, I guess, until I went to return my oldest son's instrument to a school, and I wasn't let in. to not be let into your own kid's school for their safety. Yeah. Needless to say, we moved. In about a week, Chaz had packed me up, moved me, and we came down to Ankeny to start fresh. We moved into an apartment. Met a new DHS worker that came into our case that had heard about the bad relationship between me and Mary and wanted to improve it. At that point, my ex-DHS agent that treated me like crap was fired. Weird. At this point in time, though, I was very hesitant to trust anybody from that agency, but I still had hope a little bit there. So, about 4 months of sober living passes. Me and Chaz both enrolled in DMAC University. We were taking classes. I had a semester and a half left to get my associate's degree. Yeah. It was hard being down here alone. We knew nobody, had no vehicle. We had bought a vehicle on the way down here. 2 days later, transmission went out, and we'd already sunk all our money into it, so we had no vehicle, we had no cell phones. We had cut ties with everybody we knew to get away from that. We had nobody. We had absolutely nobody except each other. And that is really stressful on people, and we split up for a while. And I kind of lost my mind. He lost his shit. You know, usual motion, adult, stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, yeah, he's always been there for me, so. But, anywho, fast forward till about 2 weeks ago. Me and Chaz split up. We're friends, we're roommates, we are getting along very fine, we're good friends. We just decided to take a break, step back, see what we both need, you know, I don't know, we just had a lot of changes, and we just wanted some time. So I get a text, go in for a hair follicle test, which I was told I wasn't going to do again, because they can, I guess, detect up to 6 to 9 months of use. So I said, okay, I will. I let them know. I said, it's probably going to be positive, because I had told them the last time I used, right? So I wasn't worried about it. They then asked me for a skin test. Sweat test was a new thing, I guess. I said, sure. And then they said, Chaz goes in. I said, well, Chaz isn't here right now, but we're not together right now. We will be moving to separate locations. I said, just want to let you know. This woman texts me back, I don't buy it. You guys have a podcast channel together. And I said, excuse me? And that's when I realized so many months of silence, and then this. I said, this is not going to be good. I said, fine. We went in for testing. Everything was good. Test comes back. Positive. Mind you, and I will swear on my children's grave that I have not used in that time period at all. Okay? Skin tests only are supposed to, get that day and the whole week you wear it. Never did I even come near a drug. Any time period. Okay, it had been 2 to 3 months prior to this. It was the last time I had used. And I was very open and honest about it. Came back positive, both of us, same level. Weird. Which was fine. Because I was told at the beginning of this, relapses we can handle, Amanda. We can always handle relapses. Because we're here to help. What we can't handle is not being honest and truthful. So I was honest and truthful. Last couple visits. Mind you, I've only seen my kids for 25% of these visits that are supposed to be every week. My fault at the beginning, due to not wanting to get hurt. But then it began to turn into, if I was 5 minutes late confirming, canceled. There was numerous times I had to run out from whatever I was doing at the time to make sure that I had texted this woman so that I could see my kids that day. And this just started all of a sudden. I was not able to put my 2 cents in on visit days, times, nothing. I was told when I was going to see them. I was told what to say. I was told what not to say. My kids got yelled at numerous times for venting about my ex to me. This woman has literally gone out of her way to follow me and my son through a public library and make sure to stand within 2 feet of me and my son picking out a book at the public library. Do you know what that does to someone? Do you know what it's like to be looked at as a dangerous bug that needs to be squashed? Okay, try feeling that way every week, the only time you see your kids, and for the whole 2 hours. Would you look forward to coming? Never once was I asked how was I doing. Even when I was asked at the beginning there, and I told him how bad it was, didn't matter. I was discouraged from starting a relationship back up with Casey, my ex. I was discouraged from starting a relationship up with Nick. I was discouraged from any contact with Chaz. So, alone, I thought I was going to be good. But that's not the case. Every single visit the past almost a year. It'll be a year at the end of this month. 3 more days. It's been almost a year, and I've not been shown any decency. I feel like if you treat someone like a monster for so long, they truly begin to feel like a monster, and that's all they are capable of. And how do you say that you are trying to help someone, your client? And see, Mary's supposed to be on my side. She's supposed to be my person. How do you look at the person you're supposed to be helping? And no, this woman has tried to kill herself. She is in the darkest spot of her life. To know that I hang on each and every visit, and to be able to say, I'm not going to put more time into you seeing your kids than you do, Amanda. Or, they're doing fine. Just walk away and let them be. Or to ask about a gas card at the end of this year from somebody else, and for her to say, that's not how it works, Amanda. I said, I'm just asking for some help here, guys. You know I haven't had a car since October of last year. I've had to walk, beg, borrow, steal to get places down here. And every single visit with my kids, those 25% of those visits, took everything I had to get to. Everything. I bribed somebody $100 once to take me there. That's all I had. I would literally go a week without food for myself to make sure that I had money, because I always had to feed them at these visits, to make sure I had money for their visit, to make sure I had something fun to do. I was not allowed to take them outside because it was 52 degrees. I'm not allowed to go outside of Iowa Falls. I remember one visit when I found out I was getting evicted from my apartment, which I had never heard before. I ran to my bathroom in my apartment and cried to my mom on the phone, bawled. I was saying horrible things about how I didn't want to be here, this, something. I hear a knock on the door by Mary. I said, yes, I'll be on in a second. She's like, where's Taryn? I said, I don't know, where's she? I opened the door, look around for my daughter. Come to find out, my daughter was hiding in the shower. Surprise, Mom. Talk about a rough conversation with your 8-year-old daughter. Okay. Mary had to sit with us, make sure we had a conversation explaining this. And then I was written up. I got in trouble that day for being in the bathroom alone with her. I've been written up and in trouble for falling asleep at a visit because my middle son wanted to cuddle and take a nap. She said I was falling asleep at visits. I said, yes, I've been put on new medication, new depression meds. Makes me tired. Accused me of being on drugs. I don't know. I don't know. It's been a rough year. And my thing is that now our last court date's coming up. And they've told me what they recommended. Despite every single visit, no safety concerns, none. Because of me being disrespectful or short with my DHS workers and my inconsistency with my visits. Due to the fact I haven't had a vehicle for 6 months. Due to this, they want to terminate me, my boys' dad, who's been in prison their whole lives, rights. And they want my abusive ex-husband with 3 counts of domestic abuse, 2 counts of child abuse, a long violent history, to adopt my sons. My sons, the ones I single-handedly raised and rescued from him. The killer for me was when they initially took my kids and they interviewed them at the school and they asked how they felt about going there. And my sons were terrified. They were terrified. They said they didn't trust him, they didn't scared of him. And my oldest boy was distraught. How could you take those kids and bring them to a place like that? Even during this last year with my kids there, my daughters had to go to the neighbor's house and call the police because he's tackled his son to the ground. My kids have seen him smack his girlfriend, and they're not even fazed by it anymore because they were so used to him doing worse to me. My daughter thinks that's normal. She came to a visit once and was like, Mommy, Daddy and Gordon, whatever, were fighting and he hit her. And I said, that's not good. And she says, yeah. Tell me if anybody else sees what's wrong with this here. I had worked so hard to unprogram my kids to not think that was normal anymore. I thought they had seen me and Chaz's relationship and the fact that I never heard, never cried, we never fought in front of the kids. And I thought that would stick. I also thought that nothing would get in between me and my kids' relationships. And I forgot what my son's voice sounds like. And I feel stupid begging my other kids to yell his name in the background of a video call to sneak a listen of his voice. Because I have video calls too if I don't make a visit. And they sit and they listen and they make sure I don't do anything wrong. I had my first video call at my parents' house, and because my parents stepped in the background and said hello, and I said see you next week, I couldn't see him for another week. I was punished. And that's what this has been. This has been a game of punishment. If you don't jump through this hoop, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna show you who's in charge. It's all been this year. It has been a poisonous power play, I feel like. And I can't do it anymore. It wasn't until this last month, of the year, I finally met one DHS person down here in the Des Moines area who came to my home, looked me in the eye, shook my hand, treated me like a human. When I told her what had happened, she believed me. She didn't question anything. She didn't, oh really? She didn't make me feel disgusting. She didn't make me feel dangerous. She didn't make me feel like a failure. She just listened, and she said, you know what, you need to do what's best for you and your kids. And I said, that's what I've been trying to do this whole time. But it's hard to be told that the best thing for your kids is to walk away every week. That's hard. Because being alone on the other 6 days of the week, I'm sitting here thinking maybe they are. Because I don't know. But at the end of the day, I would rather die and have them remember me for the loving, caring, imperfect mother that I was their first 8-9 years of life, than for them to remember me for this empty, dark shadow person that I have allowed DHS and the system and others to turn me into after a year. I don't want them to see that. And my biggest fear is that they're going to remember me the way that everybody's telling them to remember me by right now. DHS, my ex. That terrifies me. Because I tried so hard for a decade. I mean, I worked my ass off. I'm talking Christmas galore. I'm talking Tooth Fairy, pixie dust. I'm talking Santa letters. I'm talking everything. I pulled out all the stops with these kids. All the stops, because I wanted them to remember it. I wanted them to remember me in their childhood, because that's something I didn't have. I didn't have any memories of me and my parents. We're in a tight-knit family. We didn't do things like that, I guess, as a family. But I wanted that different for them. And I thought I did a good job, I guess, until I didn't. But, and I'm not blaming anybody. At the end of the day, it's that burns on me, and that's something I'm gonna have to live with. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This upcoming court thing where they're gonna tell me that they want to terminate my rights after a year. I had a bad year. And that's gonna feel